everyone, it's Bethany, and in this tutorial we are going to be adding a really pretty label to this nice metal bin, and we're going to do that with the Cricut Joy and the matless cutting. So we are going to actually be using the SmartVinyl, and we'll just feed that through without a mat. So we are enjoying some really nice spring weather right now, and we are definitely taking advantage of getting outdoors with the kids, and we're already starting a summer bucket list. And so far the kids have said they want to have a picnic outside, they want to do water balloons, and I think there was another thing that they said. I can't remember the third, but we're starting to bring all those things out that have been tucked away for the winter, and one thing has been sidewalk chalk, and we love sidewalk chalk at our house. So for sidewalk chalk, we like to put it in a nice big bin so the girls can carry it around to different sections of the pavement and just have fun with it. So I'm going to add a little chalk, the word chalk, to the side of this bin, and just make it a little bit cute for this summer. So what I'm going to do is I am going to show you what we're going to be using today, and then we'll walk you through how to make this little label in Design Space, and we'll get it cut out and placed on this little bin. So let me set this to the side. I believe, I can't remember where I got this, you guys, but maybe Hobby Lobby? I'm not sure. You can get these anywhere. This is just a nice metal bin. It's really sturdy and fun, and it's nice for the kids. So I'm going to set this to the side. And what I'm going to do is show you the other things we're going to use. We are going to need a weeding tool. We're going to need some scissors. We're also going to use a measuring tape just to measure out our space so that we go ahead and size our design appropriately. And then we are going to use a white SmartVinyl for this. So this is their permanent SmartVinyl, and this is going to allow us to feed this through the Joy without a mat. So it's really, really fun. And the only other thing you are going to need, of course, besides the Joy, is some transfer tape. So I'm actually using some transfer tape that I have used before. So this is, I think I've used this on another project, so I just put it back on the sheet and then saved it for another project like this. So you can reuse transfer tape, so make sure you just keep the little backer and then place it right back on there and save it. So I think this is the second time that I'll be using this, but it's a great way to save materials. So I'm just going to be using the Joy transfer tape. I'll link that down below because I have fallen in love with it. I've really fallen in love with it. There is a strong grip, and then there's a regular, and I use the regular. So I'll go ahead and link the exact one I use because I have found that it's really nice. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and take our measuring tape here. And this kind of has a little bit of grooves right here, so I want to avoid those, and I'm just going to put the word chalk right down here at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just measure, let's measure from that little groove section down. So that's about 2 1/4. So we just want to make sure we don't go more than 2 1/4. So I would say my letters are probably going to be 1.5 inches. I'm going to say 1.5 inches. So 1.5 inches in height. Okay, and so I want to make sure that I don't go too long here, and it looks like I have plenty of space. So we have about, let's just say 9 inches before it starts rounding off the edge. So we're going to go ahead and go into Cricut Design Space, and we are going to just get all of our little designs all ready to go, and we'll get it cut out and put on the bin.
Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space, and what we are going to do is we are just going to add a text box and write out the word chalk. So I'm going to write out the word chalk here, and then what I'm going to do is I'll go up here to the fonts, and I'm going to search for the font Feather. I've used this a lot in my tutorials lately. It is really a pretty font. I found this on Font Bundles, and it was, at the time, it was a free download. So I think it was a few weeks ago, but I'm not quite sure if it is free anymore. So I'm just going to be making this for personal use, and what I'm going to do is I am now going to make this a script font. So when you type it in, it's all disjointed and all of the letters are disconnected. So what you're going to do is click, and right now it is, whoops, I'm not sure what that was all about. Right now, what it's going to do is it's going to group it as a word, but we're going to go up here and say ungroup, and we are going to now see that it has ungrouped the word into individual letters. And this is now going to allow us to just drag and drop. So I am just going to manually place my letters together. And, you know, I might let this one stand. I'm trying to decide. I feel like this is a little too crowded. So I'm going to let this stand alone, and that does not bother me one bit. I think that is really pretty. So now what I'm going to do is to ensure that this cuts together. If we don't do anything right now, what the Cricut's going to do is it's going to cut out these pieces individually, and then we're going to have to put them together on the metal. We don't want to do that. That is way too much work, and plus it doesn't look very good. So what we're going to do is highlight everything, and we're going to come down here and click weld. Now it is all one image, and over here in the layers panel you'll see it is all one file. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and size it. So we're just going to use these little double arrows in the bottom right corner, and we're going to size that down, and I'm just watching right here because my main concern is that height. So I wanted it to be 1.5 inches, so I'm just going to, let's see, 1.499. That is perfect. Okay, so now I have the Joy up here already selected, so I'm just making sure it's selected, and then I'm going to go ahead and say make it. Now you can make this with any cutting machine, so if you want to do it with your Maker or your Explorer 2 or whatever cutting machine you have, this is completely fine. I'm just going to use the Joy today, and I'm going to click make it. So now what it's going to do is it's going to ask me how I am going to feed my material through the machine. So we are going to actually use no mat because we're going to be using the Cricut Joy Smart Materials, and it does remind us this is for Smart Materials only. So that's the only way you can do the matless cutting. I'm going to go ahead and click that and say done. And then it's just going to show you a little preview of how it's going to place it on the vinyl, and that's perfect. That looks great. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to click continue. And I am going to be cutting this out of white vinyl. It shows black, but that's just fine. You can use any color that you would like. And now it's just going to locate the Joy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select my material. I am using SmartVinyl Permanent, so I'll go ahead and click that. We're going to use our fine point blade and then load our material into the machine. So let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, so we have our Smart Material, we're all ready to load. So what we're going to do is we are just going to unroll it just a little bit, and then we are going to go ahead and just gently load it into the machine. So you're just going to get it so that the wheels grab it, and then it will go ahead and pull it into the machine. So it initially will pull it in and out, and it's just making sure you have enough material, which is really awesome. And you can leave this just rolled down here. The only time that I let this kind of fall out is if I am using the writable vinyl and I'm using the pen to write on it. And I'll link a tutorial on how to do that here. It is a different type of vinyl, but that's the only time I usually let this roll out is when I'm writing on vinyl because I don't want it to be all bunched up. But for cutting, I just let it, you know, bunch up just like that and keep it rolled. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click go on my computer. You're going to click go on whatever device you're using because there's no go button on the actual Joy. So now what it's going to do is it's just going to cut out that word for us, and then we can get it weeded. So that's already done. I'm not even sure that that even took a single minute because it was very fast. I'm going to click unload on my device, and then what I'm going to do is I am going to, oh, that looks really cute. Sorry, you guys can't really see it very well because the backer, the mat on here is white. So it's a white vinyl with white on there, but I had to do white for this pretty tin because it's just going to really pop in contrast, but you guys will see it in a second, so don't worry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my paper trimmer instead. I'm not going to use the scissors for this part. So I'm going to grab my paper trimmer and we'll just slice off the extra. Okay, so the reason I like to use the paper trimmer is because it just gives me a nice final straight cut line so that the next time I go to use this vinyl, then when I go to feed it into the Joy, it's a perfectly straight line again. So I just like to do that instead of my scissors for the SmartVinyl because it just helps make sure it stays really straight. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and weed this out. So let's grab our weeding tool. So you can use any weeding tool that you like. I personally really like the Cricut weeding tool. It works really well for me, so it's my go-to. So now what I'm going to do is I might actually trim, there's a little bit of extra at the top here. So I hate wasting material, so I save as much as I can because you know what, I could probably think of a million things to do with this. So I have a little bit extra, we're going to keep that. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and peel a corner and then just take away everything about the design that I don't want, and that is the process of weeding. So again, I'm sorry you can't really see this part, but once I get it on the transfer tape, you guys will see it perfectly. So that is just one of the stinker things about the matte or matless cutting is that if you're using white, then it's hard for demonstration purposes, but you guys will see in just a second. Okay, so that is all good. What I did is I went through and made sure that all of the letters were weeded out inside. So any of the A's and the K's and the L's that had a middle part, I went ahead and took those out. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place this on my transfer tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to see how much I need and then cut accordingly. So it looks like I need just about this much. Okay, and then I'm just going to peel away the backer from this transfer tape. Okay, so I'm just peeling that off. And one thing I really like is the grid lines on this because it really helps with straightening and putting it down on your design. So now I'm just going to lay this down over my design. Perfect. And now I'm just going to take my scraping tool or a squeegee tool and I'm going to really press into the vinyl and the transfer tape. And this is just helping the vinyl and the transfer tape meet together because now the transfer tape is what's going to peel the vinyl up off of that white backing carrier sheet and cutting mat. So I'm just going to make sure it's all squared away. And now what I'm going to do is while I have it laid this way is I am going to peel at an angle. And sometimes you do need your weeding tool just to kind of help get it started or help any pieces that aren't necessarily wanting to come down or come up off of that sheet. So I'm just going to peel away, and now you guys can really see that white vinyl. Okay, one other little piece wants to stick here, so I just grab it with my weeding tool. And we are in the home stretch. Okay, so that looks awesome. So here is how that turned out. Isn't that pretty? I love the font. That's so pretty. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this to the side for just a moment. And what we're going to do is we are going to make sure that our surface is prepped. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our little metal. We are going to add a little bit of rubbing alcohol to the area that we're going to apply vinyl to. So I'm just going to grab a little round cotton swab here and I'm just applying a little bit to my little cotton and then I'm just going to rub this little area down here. This is just going to prep the area and make sure there's nothing on there, and it will help the vinyl stick really well. So it removes any oils, any grime that was on there. So now that that has dried completely, now I'm going to go ahead and take my design and I'm just going to center it where I would like it. So I'm going to go up a little bit and I'm going to say right about there. It looks good to my eye. And once you have it centered and where you want it, you can just gently lay it down. And I like to start with my fingers in the middle and then go towards the edges. And then you can take your scraper or squeegee tool and then really go in and press hard. So I like to do that, and then this will just help make sure that you minimize any bubbles that may want to, come up underneath that vinyl and get a really nice smooth look. This is going to be really pretty because you know what? This is going to look like paint on here. It's going to look really nice. I love the white contrast though. Even though it was a little hard for you guys to see the weeding part, the final looks really good. So it was worth it. Okay, so now that when you feel kind of good about it being down, you will just grab a little corner. I'm going to grab it right here. And then from an angle, you will just start peeling. And then your design, your vinyl design will stay on your bin, and then your transfer tape will come off. And that is the final look. Isn't that pretty? I think that's so fun and so easy. So this took very little amount of vinyl. So that was 1.5 inches by, I can't even remember how long it was, but super small amount. So you could even use scrap material for this, but it was super easy to make and super fun. And I think this looks really professional and really polished. So I love it. So now we're just gonna add a little chalk to it and it'll be all ready to go outside. Okay, so here is our little chalk bin and it's all filled up. We got our little sign on the side. It looks really, really pretty. The girls are going to love this. So if you guys are new here, please subscribe if you want to see what's coming to the channel next. And if you enjoyed this tutorial and you guys are all ready for summer, you're ready for warm weather, then please give this a thumbs up and leave me a comment. Tell me what you guys are up to. What are you crafting? Just say hi, whatever you would like. So thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial and I will see you guys in the next video.